Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Turnaround Marriage Live. We are Scott and Rachel. We help devoted and committed Christian couples finally end cycles of conflict and disconnection and reclaim the love, passion, and playfulness that they once had. Today, we're going to be talking about the COVID chaos in marriage. And we've talked to hundreds of couples since this pandemic has started, and we have noticed themes over the last 2 years of how this has impacted Christian marriages and marriages in general. So we're going to be sharing some of that today with you.
Yeah. And if you're out there today and you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. We appreciate the share. And also, as you like and subscribe, you'll be getting those updates. And also on Facebook, make sure you find us there. You can just search Turnaround Marriage and you'll find both our coaching page, which is basically our business page, and you can get a lot of info on there. But also, you're going to make sure you want to be part of our community, which is the Turnaround Marriage group. And you'll find both of those just by searching Turnaround Marriage. And we'd love to have you part of our community so that you'll also see our content, but also be encouraged in there by the community that we have together in there.
Yes. So guys, we're going to be talking today about that COVID chaos that we've all experienced over the last 2 years. And it's crazy to think that it's just been about 2 years since all of this came about. And, this has been the theme of since speaking with couples over the last 2 years, we have noticed COVID has impacted every single marriage in one way or another. It's impacted the whole world, but it's had a direct impact on marriages in general in terms of the way they handle stress, the way that they communicate, and all those kinds of things. And what we have found that's very interesting is that this is one of the things that people come to us and they almost tell us like, this is the reason we're fighting. Well, right. COVID happened, right. And everything fell apart when COVID happened. And, there's a lot of dynamics at play, right? I mean, suddenly maybe some of you are working from home together for the first time and you weren't getting along very well before. And now all of that's amplified as you can't escape each other at home. You don't know how to communicate well. You're getting into arguments a lot. You're finding yourself at each other's throats and that kind of thing. And the stress levels, just because the world seems chaotic and everything seems upside down, the stress can be compounded and can really put a negative impact on the marriage and on you and your mental health and your physical health, and then also on your relationship. And so, we've seen just in the last 2 years, the uncertainty in the world, right? With the political unrest and with things seeming to be spinning upside down, and we don't know which way is up and we don't know what's true and what's right. And this has had a direct impact on marriage. So we want to talk about that today.
Yeah, that's so good, Rach. And yeah, we do see a lot of that. And I think the reason that we see so much of it is that it's not so much about COVID specifically. We live in a mega hyper politicized season in the world. And really that's the big thing about COVID is that it is very politicized. Whether we agree that it should be that way or not, it just is. And we see we've seen all kinds of social unrest, we've seen all kinds of justice issues, we've seen all kinds of political events and positions that are very polarized, unlike ever before, very unprecedented. And I don't think it's an accident. At bare minimum, this in the satanic realm is very pleasing to the evil one. And he's trying to stir up as much chaos as he possibly can. And he's absolutely using it in the context of our country, but also in homes. Because if you lose the homes, you lose the marriages, down goes the country. And so even more than the political season in Washington, it's the political season at home that really is wreaking havoc. And so, we could go in a lot of directions about this COVID discussion today, but what we want to do is to focus in on the biggest problem that we see. And that is the division that we see over and over again. It's like the views about COVID and how to be safe and what is wise for you, what is wise for the kids, what is wise for the parents. And this division has led to all kinds of heartache because there you're sitting across the table is the person you love, but there's been building this animosity, this frustration because they don't really seem to understand your position or perspective. And it's gotten so bad that it almost seems like they don't care. And now you're starting to wonder, like, when did they stop caring? Did they really care about it? Maybe it's been even longer than the 2 years. So what we're seeing is the same type of thing over and over again. In fact, I was talking to a couple the other day and they came home from their honeymoon to all of the COVID chaos. Like it was like they came home to crazy and they have not had a chance to get their marriage on a firm footing. And so it's really interesting. We're seeing this an awful lot. It's a very common theme. But you're right. The problem underlying is not just that there's issues in the world. It's also the way they've been doing life personally, and also and where their marriage is.
Yeah, it's so true, Scott. And it's that couple that's so heartbreaking to think that, they came home from their honeymoon and it was nothing but chaos. It's like the world turned upside down. And there's so many issues and concerns to navigate with your children, with schooling, with masks, with safety, with parents, with teachers, with health, with freedom, right? And if one of you is on one side of the spectrum and, is concerned about bringing something home to grandma and is concerned about, the comorbidities and the spread of the disease and concerned about sickness and all that. And then on the other side, the other person is concerned about freedom and concerned about, forcing people to get vaccinations that they don't necessarily feel is right for them. And the mandates and all of the stuff that has been coming up. It's like there's so many issues to navigate with aging parents, with your children. And when you're in this middle age zone where you're like still raising your kids, but also thinking about your aging parents, it can be very polarizing in the home if you and your spouse don't agree or don't see the world from the same point of view. And if that's happening to you, I can guarantee you that stress has been building in your home, in your life, in your marriage. And it can be so disorienting because when you read the news from this point of view, it's like, it's so obvious. But when you read this source, it's like something else is true. And it can feel like vertigo, like which way is up? And, it can feel dizzying to know, like, is the truth being hidden and what's real and what's true? And where did all this start and who's orchestrating this and that kind of thing. And it's really affected all of us. It's affected the entire world. And, when stress has been building at home, and then you add a pandemic and you add COVID and you add chaos and lockdowns and isolation and all of that on top of it, it can be a recipe for disaster. And now arguments can ensue. And now family gatherings, should we even meet? Have you been exposed? Have you been tested? And all this stuff, have you been vaccinated? And when these questions rise to the top and we start treating people differently and we start imposing our view of the world on other people, and now the stress is just really to the breaking point where you're like, I can't take it anymore. We can't even get on the same page about this. It can lead to disconnection and arguments and feeling like your spouse is a million miles away when they don't understand and they don't see what you see. And it can be maddening in a way, can't it?
Yeah, it's so true. And, there was one politician that said, don't let a good tragedy go to waste. And so we absolutely see the politicalization of COVID that is just, there's no denying it. It's just absolutely the case of what's going on in our world. And it's really, yes, it leads to arguments, it leads to the stress, it leads to the disconnect. And you have to wonder, like, it's confusing even for yourself, let alone trying to navigate it in the context of the marriage. And one of the key things that we're seeing is that when we're hearing these narratives over and over again, it does lead to a place of building an unreasonable amount of fear that's not a commensurate with even the threat. Like, absolutely, we see that going on. And please receive that to anybody that's out there. I'm not trying to offend in any way, but we see fear peeking its head in the context of marriage. And when fear is leading the way, it even more makes things confusing. And it makes it hard to even understand it because you're not even able to think properly when you live in that fear. And oh my goodness, if you turn on the news, it's always the statistics of how many people have died. And I'm not, we've had tragic losses. I'm not trying to underestimate that or to minimize that. Absolutely. And those losses are what makes things even more confusing. And so, these issues aren't just right here. It even gets more confusing when you have extended family. Your parents or even, cousins or aunts and uncles or siblings that have differing views. And then what we're seeing is a lot of loss of relationships, either with the extended family or with friends. And it gets really messy when it might feel like your spouse's opinion on that thing has what has caused that division with the other spouse. And then that builds even more animosity because it's like you're blaming them for the loss that you've had with the family or friends. And that can get really, really messy. And all of that, again, leads to more stress. And so what we're seeing is a vicious cycle that's only compounding and only getting worse.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see the impact that it's had and to see that Satan has used it to destroy families, to disconnect relationships, siblings, mothers, daughters, extended family, in-laws, And what's most heartbreaking about that is that it can feel like the very people that you love and the very support that you need to navigate a crazy, world altering event is the very thing that's now ripped away from you, right? When now you're isolated or now you don't have that support. You don't have the relationships that you used to have because there's been breakdown. And, this can lead to feelings of like, just the physical symptoms of high blood pressure and headaches and poor sleep and a change in appetite. And either you're gaining weight or you're losing weight and your physical body is breaking down because you're so stressed out. And we've helped clients who have had the stress to the breaking point where they felt like they were on the edge of a nervous breakdown. They felt like they were on the edge of, or they had been hospitalized because of flare-ups from directly related to stress. And so much of it has come down to, now working from home, now the high inflation rates and, all the crazy in the world that we see, not knowing which way is up. And when it leads to the disconnection between the very closest relationship on earth, that between a husband and a wife, it can feel so lonely and so isolating when you guys cannot see things from each other's point of view.
Yeah.
And when stress has reared its ugly head, and now this is where we're operating in the stressed out state, that fight or flight state. Now, like Scott said, when you're operating in that place, you can't really access your frontal lobe. You can't really think clearly and make logical decisions. And you're so stressed out and you're worried about your job and worried about, your family and illness and freedom and whatever it is you're worried about on your side of the equation. The worry and the fear, guess what that does? It weakens our immune system and it causes us to even be more vulnerable to getting sick, more vulnerable to getting into a fight and disconnection. And so we're here to tell you guys, if that's where you're at, and if you guys can't see eye to eye and you can't seem to get on the same page and you've allowed stress to just really begin to ruin your marriage and ruin your life, we're here to tell you, you've got to take charge and you've got to do something, because that will lead to a heart attack or a stroke or some other life-altering event that's going to affect you permanently. You cannot just live in that elevated state of stress for long periods of time without a very bad effect on your body. We're just not designed to live there. So we want to implore you, you've got to do something to manage your stress.
Yeah, so true. And, this can be so frustrating when that you care about your spouse, you love them, and you realize this is not the way that it should be. That you are in Christ, one flesh, but you're not connected. That God has called you together to be marriage, to be a blessing. And, it can be really frustrating when that your marriage should be so much more and you guys aren't able to get there. And that it should be a place of belonging and you can't even talk about the things of the world going on. And what we found interesting as well, that is a common theme, it's also true for us, is that it can be very frustrating when you're frustrated. Like, you can be very frustrating in how opinionated that you can be. Shocking. I have some strong opinions about things. Right? I do. And my goodness, I could go on and on about my opinions about the actual COVID and also the politics. That's not the point of our conversation today, though. And so what has happened for myself, and we've seen it time and time again with people that we've talked to and even our clients, and that is that, you might have those frustrated outbursts when people are not understanding. And I don't think I've been like out of control in some of those moments, but there have been moments I've had to go back and say, I'm sorry that I got so strong towards you, but also other people. And, it can be, so I've really been beating myself up at times about how frustrated I have become with other people. And I know that that's absolutely a theme that we're hearing too. Like we know that we've allowed some of these things to get in control of us and get in the way of our relationships, because it really is and has been a very highly emotional time, unlike anything else. Our kids are being raised with this. This is their new normal. But for those of you that are 20 and above, this is a highly emotional time that we've never really experienced before. And so that doesn't mean that you're destined for that. It doesn't mean you have to even stay there, but it is the world that we live in. And my goodness, I saw a guy nearly attacking a teenage girl in the gym this week. I've seen a lady flipping off my son as we're pulling out of his school, like, because she didn't do what I like. People are behaving badly. We're seeing this at unprecedented levels, but that doesn't mean that you have to live there.
Yeah. My gosh, isn't it? It's just heartbreaking. And so, first of all, we want to implore you, if you're in this elevated state of stress, if this is really taking a toll on your marriage, you've got to, number one, begin to manage your stress in healthy ways. It is so easy, and our default is to manage stress in unhealthy ways, to overeat, to scroll, to numb, to take pills, to drink, to use a substance that's going to make us not feel, make us zone out, make us, whether it's video games or excessive TV or whatever it is, excessive entertainment. It could be porn, it could be other relationships, it could be, you name it, right? There's no shortage of things and ways we can try to manage our stress in unhealthy ways, but we want to implore you, you've got to get some good coping strategies. And if you need help with that, that's one of the things that we do. We have a comprehensive plan that we help our clients begin to manage their stress comprehensively, because let's just face it, as long as you have a pulse, you're going to be under stress in this world. It just is a matter, but it's not a matter of if and when this is going to be over. It's like, how do we navigate it? How do we get through it? How do we keep a level head? How do we regulate our emotional state? How do we build margin into our life? How do we manage stress and do it in a healthy way? So you've got to do that, because that's been huge. I mean, we interviewed Mary and Scott the other week. They were amazing clients, and they, but the stress of now living at home and now working together from home, and the stress of their jobs and the stress of the pandemic and the stress of not getting along about how they saw it was so bad that it really brought them to their breaking point. And now, guys, he's landed his dream job. They're managing their stress. They're taking walks every night. Their marriage is now closely connected. They've been able to figure out how to navigate this, how to communicate without disagreeing, without like coming at each other and coming with each other. So, these are the kinds of things that we help our clients with. So if that's you, reach out for help. That's why we're here.
That's one of the things that Mary said just the other day. She said, I didn't even realize it was possible to be able to regulate my emotions the way I do now.
That's right. Yeah, she said that last night.
This is so important for the context of marriage. And so that's really, that is what we do, is we help them to win in a lot of different areas so that they can win in marriage. Yes. That's really important. And how you think really does matter. And so, another thing that's really important, guys, is when you're feeling that disconnect, that is time to invest in one another. That is time not to pull away, not to give up, not go your separate ways angry, not to go to those coping mechanisms, but instead to lean into one another, because God gave you to each other to be a gift, even if you don't agree 100%. Rachel and I don't agree 100% on all the things that are going on in the world. It's just, I don't even agree with myself sometimes. I certainly don't agree with myself from 2 years ago about a lot of things.
Right.
I got a different perspective now.
Yeah.
And so this is the time now more than ever to be leaning into each other, to investing time and energy. And even, I would say, even monetarily, like, what dates are you going on? What trips have you planned? What help have you guys reached out and gotten? Now is the time more than ever that instead of investing in your homes and other things, investing in each other. Not more hobbies, not more Facebook, but one another. It's really key. Yeah. It's so important. And if you're out there today and you're thinking, okay, this sounds great, I understand that. Like, I need to regulate my emotional state and the stress. But you guys don't know the situation that I'm in, and it feels like an overwhelming flood. We get that. If that's you, you're absolutely somebody that needs to reach out for support. And also, if you're feeling like, I want to invest in them, I really want to spend time with them, but it's gotten to the place where I don't even know how to talk to him anymore. I don't even know how to talk to her because of this divide that's so tangible in our homes that it's gotten really yucky. And if that's you in either case, we want to encourage you to reach out and book a call. You can do a complimentary breakthrough call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Pick a time that works, fill out that short questionnaire so that we can help serve you on that call. And guys, this could be the best 45 minutes you've ever invested in your marriage, because we're going to help you get that clarity and help you to really navigate what's not working, but also where you hope things can go.
Yeah. So if that's you, go ahead and reach out and book that call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Guys, don't stay stuck. Don't wait until the stroke is already happening. Don't
Right.
wait until the heart attack and you're in the hospital. Don't wait until the nervous breakdown. Don't wait until the divorce papers are served. Guys, take action now. Your marriage and your family are worth it.
Yes.
They are worth it. So book that call at turnaroundmarriage.com/call. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care.